So let's talk about domain and range. I've got some examples to do for you together, for you and with you, right? So we can do them together so that you have an idea of what I want you to do on the rest of the worksheet, yes? But in our conversations, I hope you get to a deeper understanding of domain and range as well, okay? Looking at this very first graph, what do you notice about this graph, first of all? Just give me some observations about the graph.
There's no arrows.
There's no arrows. What else? So, like it's a curve, what'd you say?
Looks like smiley face a little bit.
So like it looks like a smiley face? Okay. So if I put some eyes over here,
Yeah.
okay, what else?
It's only on the right side of it.
It's only on the right side of the axis.
It has a stopping point.
Does it?
There's no
Does it have a
arrows.
stopping point? There's no arrow, so for sure it
but
stops.
There's no, the circle's not there.
Right, so it's an open circle. So that's going to give us a hint to know what to write. Okay? So let's talk about domain. Which variable is domain representing? X's. So we say how far left does it go, and then how far right does it go, right? So how far left does this go? To 2, right? 2 is the furthest X value to the left that it goes. So it starts at 2, and then goes where? How far right does it go? To 4. Okay? Now, is 2 included in my domain? Does the graph touch 2?
Yes.
Yes. So I have a bracket right here. Is 4 included in my domain? Why no? It doesn't touch it, and you know that because there are open circles on 4. Does that make sense? Because there's open circles on 4, I put a parenthesis instead. Okay? Any questions? Now, what about range? What variable does range represent? Y's. So we say how far down and how far up, right? So how far down does it go?
Negative 2.
Negative 2.
Positive 2.
Positive 2. Now, does it touch negative 2? And how do you know that? It's an open circle, right? And how does it touch positive 2? No, because open circle. So what goes around each of these numbers this time? Very good. Parenthesis. The last thing I want you to be able to tell me today is it a function or not? Do you remember how to tell if something is a function or not? So that's symmetry. That's good that you know that.
Like if it goes to the
Maybe sometimes that's true, not always. So what we need to do is our vertical line test. Do you remember? Remember vertical line test?
It's not, because it touches it twice.
There's several places it touches it twice, right? And because it touches my vertical line test or my vertical line twice, it is not a function. Very good remembering that. Very good. Okay? Are we good on number 1? On example 1? Yes? Okay, let's look at this one then. Domain, how far left and how far right? Can I still kind of think that way on this example? Kind of, right? How far left does it go?
Negative 3.
Negative 3? Positive 2. There's a huge difference though, isn't there? Is this graph connected in between negative 3 and positive 2? It's not. There's nothing in between negative 3 and positive 2. Is negative 3 included? Does this graph touch negative 3? Does this graph touch 2? Then that's how we have to write this domain. Negative 3 and 2. Do you remember what this symbol means? Do you remember what the symbol is? Well, what does it look like?
A U.
It's a U, right? It stands for union, and it means and. So negative 3 and 2. Those are the only X values allowed, are negative 3 and 2. Does that make sense? Okay. What about the range? How far down does it go?
Private.
And how far up does it go?
Positive 2. No. Where?
Well, this side, you're right. It absolutely only goes up to positive 2. But what happens on this side? Forever. So do you think it's okay for me to say negative infinity to positive infinity?
Yes.
Even though they're not touching?
Yeah.
Well, because we're talking about y values, right? It goes all the way down, and as it comes up to 2, I still have some y values. They just start over here again and then go all the way up. So it is negative infinity to positive infinity. Okay? Is it a function? How many times is it touching this one? All of the times, right? So it is not a function. Good so far? Now this one's a little bit different because it is just a list of ordered pairs. That means the way we write our domain and range has to look different. Okay? If I look at a list of ordered pairs, what is my domain here?
3, 5, 7, 9.
That's exactly, well, almost.
3, 5, 7.
Correct. Okay? But I have to use these this time. I'm not using parentheses or brackets. I'm using these pretty braces. And I say 3, 5, 7, and 8. So what about the range? Do I do that the same way?
The range is 6, 7, 7, 9. Or do we have to put?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. Do I write the ones that repeat?
Or no,
I don't, right? I don't have to.
So it's just 6, 7, 9.
6, 7, and 9. Okay. Now, how do I decide if it's a function? Do the x's repeat? I'm going to write that down. Do the x's repeat? Do any of the x's repeat? No. If they don't repeat, then the answer is yes. Very good.
The x's repeat. If
If-
they don't repeat, it is a function. If
Correct.
they do repeat, then it's not a function.
Correct. Good so far? All right, what about this next one?
That's a function.
Domain. Oh, it is a function. You want to start there first?
Yeah.
Because the vertical line test, it only ever touches in one place, right? So yes, it's a function.
Hold on. Ethan's not understanding the vertical line thing.
Okay, I've got my vertical line, right? I know it's a pen, but can we pretend it's a vertical line?
Yes.
So as I scoot it across the page, how many times, how many places is it touching the vertical line? Only one time ever, right? This one, right here, see how it's touching in 2 places? Okay? You can only touch it once. That's exactly right. Okay? All right, what about the domain? What's the domain? How far left? Negative what? Negative 5. And how far right? 5. What goes around them? Brackets because it's like a colored in circle. It stops, right? For sure. And because it's colored in circle, I know negative 5 and positive 5 are both part of the answer. What about the range? How far down? Negative 3. And how far up? 2. Okay, so negative 3 to 2. Are they both included? So, brackets.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Ask me, please.
So on number 1,
Yes?
you have a bracket on one of them, right? Like down
I have a
the
bracket on 2 because it's touching 2.
first. Oh, so the circles don't have anything to do with it on that one.
The circles do because on 4 there's circles, and so I have to have a parenthesis there.
Okay, but if the circles are colored on both, there's 3 brackets on
Yep.
both sides.
Yep. If these circles were colored in, that would definitely be a bracket. Yeah, very good question. All right, what about this one? What do you want to do first?
Let's do function.
Okay, is it a function?
Yes.
Yes, it's a function because
It has the line.
it passes the vertical line test. As long as I scoot my pen all the way across the page, it only ever touches in one place. Okay? What about domain then? How far left does it go? Negative 5. Is negative 5 included? So let's go ahead and put the parenthesis then. And then how far right does it go? 5, and is 5 included? How do you know?
Because it's colored in.
It's colored in, very good. All right, how far down does it go? Negative 2. Is negative 2 included?
Yes.
That's kind of tricky, isn't it?
It's not a function.
Because this one's open circle on negative 2, isn't it? But what's true about this and this? They're closed circles. So is it part of the range? Yes, it is. So this is a bracket. And then how far up does it go? To 2. Is 2 included? Yes, so bracket. The next one is not a function. Are you positive? Good.
Well, it doesn't pass the.
It does not pass the vertical line test. Okay, so domain, -5 to -1, and they're both brackets. Very good. And then range,
Range is -2 to +2.
and
The -2 is
-2 is a parenthesis because it is
Oh.
open.
and then +2 is
A bracket because it touches. Does that make sense? All right, any questions so far? So those are examples to get you started. Notice how many questions are on this worksheet. What did I promise you?
You will never give us more than we need.
I'll never give you more than you need. So would you please turn to this page right here and circle number 2? And would you circle number 6? And number 7? And number 9? Would you also circle number 12? And number 13? And number 14? And number 17? And then would you also please circle number 20 and number 22 and number 24? Okay? So that's 11 questions. So how many questions am I going to look for when I grade your homework tomorrow? 11. What happens if someone does number 1? They get extra points. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Is that okay? And how many, so of the 27, 11 are required, so that leaves 16. Do you have to do all 16 to get any extra points? No, you don't. You can do as many as you want. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about this? What should you do if you have questions? Ask them, okay?